Hello, everyone. Welcome to the WEX. If we haven't met yet, my name is Alana Ryder, and I'm Manager of Public and University Programs. I'm thrilled to introduce you tonight to Awilda Rodríguez Lora, who is here in Columbus for a one-week residency. Before I launch into her bio, I'd like to share briefly how Awilda came into our lives. It started with the 2018 Latinx Placemaking in the Midwest Symposium. This gathering was organized by our key partner, Teresa Delgadillo, of Latino Studies at Ohio State. Here we met Ramon Rivera Cervera of Northwestern University. Ramon drew us into the Puerto Rican Arts Initiative, an incubation platform that cultivates art practices on the island post-Hurricane Maria. The project has received funds from the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation and campuses hosting artists across the U.S. Over the next 2 years, 10 artist projects will be funded through the initiative. I'd like to recognize our key Ohio State partners acknowledged on the slide. My thanks also extend to colleagues including Shelley Casto and Dion Custer-Edwards in education, Bruce Bartu and Andy Hensler in tech services, Jennifer Lang in film, and Lane Chaplinsky in performing arts. This residency week would not be possible without my intern, Malu Marzarato. Now to Awilda. Born in Veracruz, Mexico, raised in Puerto Rico, and working expansively across North and South America and the Caribbean, Awilda's works ignite our thinking and frameworks about borders, politics, sexuality, social change, and identity. Throughout her career, Awilda has developed interdisciplinary performances that incorporate dance, theater, and visual arts that ask us to look at the roles of performer and witness spectator. She's also the award-winning producer of the documentary Still Black, A Portrait of Black Trans Men. In 2010, Awilda returned to Puerto Rico after time studying at Hunter College in New York and Columbia College in Chicago. Awilda has been invited to participate in biennials, festivals, and projects in Chile, the Dominican Republic, Miami, Chicago, and many other sites. In summer of 2018, she performed at the Brooklyn Museum during the Radical Women Latin American Art Exhibition. Tonight, I hope you will start a dialogue with us. Over the next 2 years, as Awilda develops work that will be featured in our 2021 Performing Arts season, I encourage you to ask questions about masks, aprons, and machetes, the number 4,645, and the value of live arts. At the WEX, we strive to open up discussion and debate and find the world more complex through art. We invite risk and challenge as we find ways to become agents of social change. Awilda's first visit allows us to begin dialogues on subjects as wide as decolonizing our institutional spaces, to the ethics behind community engagement, to the pursuit of other modes of learning, research, and knowledge. Thanks to all of you for being here, and most of all, thank you, Awilda. Please join me in a welcome.
Check her out. That is the Puerto Rican dancer. Yeah, she's working it. She's one of famous TV shows that happens at noon, which is El Show de las Doces in Telemundo when it was in Puerto Rico. She is working it. She has so many hopes and dreams. She really was going to be a famous dancer. She was going to dance with Madonna. She was going to be in a lot of TV shows. She was going to find a husband and get married. She was going to buy a house and have health insurance and have lots of children. Wait, check her out. You can applaud. I know it's quite exciting. That is the Puerto Rican dancer. Check her out. She's selling it. You can't see on the background, but the company manager screaming at her, "Véndelo, véndelo, bailarina, véndelo." And there she is selling it. Ooh, oh, yes. Very pivotal time here, all those turns, all those Latina movement. There she is. Check her out, the Puerto Rican dancer with hopes and dreams, excited. Oh, wait, slow motion. It's a very dramatic moment. That's it. The Puerto Rican dancer. She's doing her thing. She's working it out. She's selling it. She's gonna be famous. She's gonna have a career as a dancer. She was gonna make a living out of dance, hopefully. Dance with Madonna, famous people. There she is. She's working it. Hold on, there's fireworks coming over there. Yes, keep working it. Oh, there it comes. There she is, the one and only Awilda Rodríguez Lora. You can applaud now. It's okay. Thank you. Does anybody want some sustento? ¿Alguien quiere sustento? Ay, oh, qué bien, mucha gente. I know it's kind of cold. Sustento is perfect for that. Let me get comfortable. Hold on. Sustento. Who wants sustento? I had over here. Okay. How are you doing, Alana? Do you know what sustento is? Okay, it's sustenance in English. That's the exact translation. What is sustenance for you? What sustains you?
Well, like you, yoga, definitely.
Yoga. That's awesome. Do you want a little bit of my sustento? Cool. You're going to help me here. Hold on to the mic. Going to tilt the head to the back because it has to be enough for everybody here. And sometimes it does spill, but just rub it in your heart. Okay. There you go. Thank you. Over here, I saw some. Teresa wants some sustento. ¿Qué es sustento para ti?
Green.
Green. That's a good one. Would you like some of my sustento?
As in trees.
Okay. Would you like some of my sustento? Gracias. Can you hold on the microphone? Thank you. That's the taste of sustento. I know, it's amazing. Would you like some sustento? Okay. What's sustento for you?
Mi familia.
La familia, family, definitely. I have a little bit of heart and love, and you're ready for it. And that's the attitude for sustento. Hold my mic. Anybody else would like some sustento? I'm gonna go this way to get people's attention over here. Anybody? Sustento? Oh, great. We have more volunteers. Oh, I'm so glad I took those heels off, because to do this with heels, not fun. Okay, so who do we do first? Okay, ladies first. It is Women's History Month, so it's perfect. So what's sustento for you?
Community.
Community. And your name again?
Diana Pagan.
Mucho gusto, Diana, de nuevo. ¿Quiere un poquito de mi sustento? Okay, lo voy a poner aquí. Cabeza para atrás. Okay, let's do one more. Gracias. ¿Te sientes sustentada?
Sí, claro.
Awesome. What's sustento for you? Que lo oiga todo el mundo.
Mis amigos.
Okay, ¿quiere un poquito de mi sustento? Ay, qué bien. Ay, esa actitud me gusta. Okay, va por aquí. Cabeza para atrás. Gracias. Yes. We'll talk about that later on. But thank you. I'm going to keep sustento over here because I still need to do this talk, right? I will be doing sustento forever if it works for me. So I'm going to share a little bit of my story. But I have sustento over here on the podium. So if you need some sustento because you're falling asleep or because you're just wanting some sustenance in the middle of this, you just raise your hand, let me know, and I'll give you some sustento. So what happened to me? My parents wanted to travel the world. So my parents are Puerto Rican. They met in Puerto Rico, in San Juan, at the University of Puerto Rico, and they wanted to travel the world. They were very excited to have met each other. They're vegetarians, they're hippies. They started through California, and then got really far and finished in Veracruz, Mexico. And I was born there in a beautiful ashram, vegetarians and hippies and having the wildlife. And then my father had to go and study chiropractic. And my mother followed him, therefore I follow them too. And there's a story that my mother told me that's how I got my US citizenship. So automatically as a child from a Puerto Rican parents, you get a US citizenship. Because if you don't know, Puerto Rico is a colony of the US, one of many colonies that the US has. So we have to get the passport, so in order for me to leave Mexico. And my mom is carrying me in her back. It's the 70s, so it's a big metal kind of carrier. She forgot to put the belt. So she's carrying me, and my father's running, and my mother is trying to catch up, which is also a metaphor for the 25 years of marriage. So she's trying to catch up, and then she tells me that the U.S. Embassy in Mexico is huge, it's beautiful, and it has this really shiny, beautiful marble forest. So she's running, you can see her running, and then she falls, and I go sliding into the U.S. Embassy. What an entrance, right? This is how I come to the U.S. After living in New York, I had two brothers younger than me that were born, one in Puerto Rico on a trip, and then when they came back in Puerto Rico, my father finishes his studies, we moved to Puerto Rico, where he practices. And going forward, I took some dance classes here and there, but it wasn't until I was 16 that I really wanted to be a dancer. And I told Mommy, I want to be a dancer. And she's like, well, I'm going to take care of it. You just find the school, and I'll pay the monthly fees, and we'll do that. Great. So I went and found the classes, and I went to Bailos, which is a dance company in Santurce. And after 6 months, I got elected to be part of the company. So I go and travel, go to Washington and Kennedy Center. You saw me on TV. That was me back in 1996. And I'm dancing everywhere. Things are going great. Then an agreement comes up. And mind you, all this talk, we're going to be making reference on sustento. Sustento in different shapes and forms, from community, from funds, from green, from different things. So the agreement was that I had to have exclusivity with this choreographer or this company, and that was not fair, considering that in Puerto Rico, the jobs are kind of limiting for dancers. So I kind of had to leave. Plus, I wasn't really happy. I was always considered as a voluptuous dancer, in other words, fat. So I wasn't really healthy with my body. I wasn't really loving my body in that process. I did all the unhealthy things you can imagine, of eating disorders and just hating myself and not loving myself. And then my parents got divorced. All of this is happening at the same time. My mom leaves because there's no enough jobs for her. She has been a caretaker up to this point, and she's actually an occupational therapist. She finds a job in Florida. There's a job fair, she goes to Florida. I leave dancing, I live my bachelor's degree in accounting. I left my father because of a really violent event with him, that he actually grabbed me through the neck, pushed me to the back, and scared the hell out of me. So I decided to take a one-way ticket out of Puerto Rico, not planning on coming back. And then I go with Mommy to just be depressed and sad, and she tells me, well, you can't just be depressed and sad. You have to take some classes, go to the university. And she found me again a dance class. This one was at Daytona Beach Community College, and I took my first contemporary dance with Kevin Vega, who is a former dancer for Alvin Ailey. And he really kind of changed my life and my perspective towards dance. And he also allowed me to be the dancer that I am and I look like. And I created my first piece. Everything is going super well. After that, he tells me, go to New York, study at Hunter, and do your thing there, because there's enough people. There's a lot of more diversity in dance. There's people different shapes, different forms, different race. And it really kind of shifted my perspective towards dance. I created my second choreography, which is Miss Latina USA, which when I was questioning this concept of beauty for Latina women, particularly, or women of color, I was watching TV, mainstream media as a big influencer in my work. And I see J-Lo, she's turning more blonde and whiter. I then see Beyonce, again, also happening. Then Shakira got blonde after I loved her rock and roll stage. And I decided to make this piece, and I work with Latina dancers, and it's a pageant. So we're competing, we're pushing ourselves, we're doing all this like kind of shady things as we're performing. And at the end, it didn't matter how much we worked, because who's gonna win? Barbie doll with a sash that says Miss Latina USA. So that's the beginning of my exploration of Latinaness, and also our conceptions of beauty for women of color, or for my body. And also it's a way that I'm also discovering and trying to love who I am. It's in New York when I started discovering my own sexuality too, my queerness. I started surrounding myself with feminists, with queer women, queer people, also other ways of doing dance, of creating dance. And it was really a beautiful moment for me. But I had to leave. 9/11 happened and was quite intense. And I also fell in love with a woman. She's Puerto Rican. We're going to Puerto Rico and make everything happen. Dreams are gonna come up. I have a bachelor's degree now in dance and in economics. I'm gonna make it. So I moved to Puerto Rico, and we break up. And I didn't have my community. So I didn't have queer folks to connect with. Mostly were my high school friends, which I was a different person back then. I shaved my head, less friends, so it was really kind of a lonely place. They call me from New York again and say, Awilda, we got a job for you. It's a 9-to-5 job. You're gonna be a full-time job with health insurance, so I'm gonna get the whole benefits. I get there, everything is great. I have my weekends dancing, because I think that's the formula. Everybody's telling you that's the formula, right? You work 9 to 5 and you dance on the weekends, on the evenings, and you sleep sometimes. And then you become a famous dancer, right? So I'm doing my thing, I'm working it out. I get fired from the job for very unjust reasons. I'm in unemployment, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, and I decide, oh, I got it. I'm gonna go and get a master's. So I go and get a master's in arts management from Columbia College, Chicago. So I moved to Chicago, and everything is great. But I couldn't stop dancing. I couldn't stop performing. And I was really kind of having also a complex relationship with calling myself a dancer, because the way, as a Latina woman and also a dancer, I would get some special kind of attention that I was not interested in. So I was trying to discover now new forms of expressing myself. And I saw this application for a mentorship program with Tim Miller. I don't know if you're familiar who Tim Miller is. He's a performance artist, comes from dance. He's a gay man that focuses on storytelling. And he's also one of the NEA Force, which is for artists that were, their funding was removed because their work was seen as obscene. And this is what National Endowment for the Arts gave individual artists funding. They went to court, they won, they got their funding back, but National Endowment for the Arts doesn't give funding that way. But I read this in his bio, and I was like, I want to learn from this guy, because he's definitely pushing the system and also storytelling for queers. And he really it's an important moment in my life, because he really kind of lets me understand that I can speak in any language I want it. I do a lot of Spanglish, hablo en español, en inglés, cuando estoy haciendo mis trabajos. And I created a piece about my story, the one I just told you, of my history of leaving Puerto Rico and what that meant. But I also added to that the celebration of my sexuality. So in New York, I actually started masturbating too, as an adult. And it was quite exciting, and with that came my queerness. So this piece narrates this story, and it's a really musical, multidisciplinary piece. And it's titled, I Wanted to Be a Cheerleader, but my country didn't have it, and that's not a misspelling. I, on purpose, spell it that way. So I'm gonna invite you now to see a little bit of this video that I made that is called La Tortillera. I don't know if you know what La Tortillera or Tortillera can mean. Anybody? Well, queer, that's a nice way of saying it now, but but it could be also kind of this, when I was younger, there used to be a song called Tortita, Tortita, Tortita de Manteca, which is also patty cakes here. And me and my friends would actually sing that song when we see somebody that looked like a lesbian. And that was my own homophobia, my own, kind of pushing away of that reality. So it's very important for me to use this song again, and also this term of la tortillera as a way of empowering myself and calling myself a lesbian at that time. And I'm gonna put the little video so you can enjoy some yummy reggaeton music, and then we can talk more about that form too if you want to, and enjoy. So that is tortillera. I was quite young and exciting to do this piece. I recorded it literally in my apartment, in my closet, which is quite ironic. But yes, so from there, I'm really now understanding what is this work that I'm doing, what is it about, how the sense of humor is important to it. And I discovered that in order to create work, sustento is a brave space. It's having a space to be yourself. And this can be the apartment with your partner, it can be a classroom, it can be a space like this, a space that shares sustento. And I think it's important that we continue finding those spaces to really be ourselves, right? To really explore all those multiplicities that we are, because we're not just one thing, as much as they ask us to, in a form, to check one box. We're more things than that. Then I moved to California, to Oakland, and I went to San Francisco, and they had a space called The Garage, and they had a residency program for queer artists called Airspace. And I created my third piece, and this is really, I consider it my second piece as La Performera, because as La Performera was kind of born in Chicago, thanks to La Tortillera, thanks to that moment of being myself. But that piece was really about my father and that trajectory and the violence and papi, papi, papi. And I was like, I need to make a piece about mommy. There's no way I can continue this career without honoring my mama. So I only had access to space and performance opportunities. The residency do not provide funding for me to bring my mother, which is what I ideally wanted. And again, I'm having the 9-to-5 job. I'm doing dance on the nights and on the weekends. And what I decided to do was then to visit my mother, record interviews. And simultaneously, I would have a camera pointing at her and a camera pointing at me, questions about my queerness, questions about my relationship with my partner, that I wanted to know actually her relationship with my father, which was really an unhealthy and quite violent space to grow up in. And I wanted to understand how you stayed together for 25 years. I'm only 2 years with my partner and it's going insane. And then to try to flourish as mother and daughter and really understand each other. So it's a trilogy, it's a 3-part piece, and I'm able to do this performance, and it was quite amazing and remarkable to do it. The reason I use a TV, and it's a TV VCR combo, and I actually fed it with VHS. One is to be able to carry my mother throughout stage, and bigger than that would have been too heavy. But I also have a nostalgic, feeling towards technology, and that is the kind of TV I grew up with, right? The tube TV. So there's something about the nostalgia there and that time of where my parents were together. So sustento is the love of your mother. There's no way I could have been here right now with you if it wasn't for mommy. She's really been the one that pushed me to do the work, to do the dance, to do the performance. And she's very, very important, and she will always continue to be. And it's actually, later on, I'll explain to you how motherhood becomes then another part of my exploration of my work. But like I mentioned, I was going through a really unhealthy, codependent relationship, a queer relationship, and I had to leave, and I stayed at my mom's house, and she took care of me when I was extremely broken, extremely depressed. She wouldn't even recognize me. And I had to make a decision what to do next, right? I couldn't live with my mom forever, and not even in Florida. So I had to make a choice, but simultaneously in Puerto Rico, this is 2010, the students are revolting. The students are occupying the University of Puerto Rico, all the different campuses, from San Juan, Mayagüez, Humacao, everywhere. They occupy for more than 60 days. They do their own political system in there. It's a democratic, participatory way of creating work. They're doing pirate radio stations, they're doing different media, videos, things are happening. So I'm in Florida checking this out, and I'm like, I'm ready to go to Puerto Rico now. This is the time, the revolution's about to start, the students are there, I'm gonna go and be with them. Then also Ricky Martin, I don't know if you know Ricky Martin, La Copa de Exacto, Fútbol, Versace, he's now really famous. Back in 2010 is when he actually comes out. Or what I like to say, he declares his love for his partner and for his children. And then La Comay, which is the third picture here, which is actually a puppet played by a man, and it's a female puppet. It's called La Comay, which is comadre. It's a term that we use for women supporting other women and raising their children. This is the #1 TV show at the time. The majority of Puerto Ricans are watching this show. It's their #1 source of news, gossip, and everything. What happens? La Comay decides that when Ricky Martin comes out of the closet to use hate language, homophobic language, to express this act of bravery. So I'm pissed, and I'm inspired at the same time, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go to Puerto Rico, and I'm gonna kill her. That's really what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna do El Velorio de la Comay because I'm gonna go and kill this doll. It's the perfect sense. It's like, and the revolution's about to start. I got backup. But I get there and I talk to my friend, and he's like, Awilda, if you kill La Comay, you're gonna kill a nation. Because everybody identifies themselves with this doll. And I was like, oh, I don't wanna kill a nation. That seems kinda harsh for me just coming back as a queer woman of color. Okay, so I'm gonna do a piece about love. I'm gonna do a piece about Puerto Rican identity and our relationship to love as a young Puerto Rican that watched media, watched telenovelas, watched mainstream, music songs about if you don't love me, I'll die, all that stuff. And I make this piece, which is actually a short story, a 38-minute story of my way of falling in love, which is pretty simple. I go to the club, I see somebody that I like, I go and dance with them, then I go and have sex with them, then we move in together. That's pretty much what happens, and then we break up. So this is a pattern that I was having, which obviously did not work. And I was also coming out from a very unhealthy relationship, which I never thought it would be possible to have an unhealthy queer relationship. Kind of didn't make sense. For me, only heterosexual relationships were the ones that were messed up. That's not true, people. There are really different ways of falling in love, and that is quite beautiful, but we also learn patterns from our parents or from media or for songs that are amazing and beautiful and catchy that are telling you if that person is not there, you'll die or you'll have to kill them, which sometimes they do say. Listen to salsa. A lot of them say that. So I create this piece, and I apply for grants because that's what we do. We're artists. We apply for a grant. And I see that everybody in Puerto Rico is getting the grant for the Instituto de Cultura Puertorriqueña. I'm making a piece about Puerto Rico. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm going to get this grant. I didn't get the grant. So what do? I'm on fire here. You know, I'm coming back. I want to do this. So I did everything from selling my body for art, which was a conceptual piece where I had people touch different parts of my body for a price. I raised some money there. I had parties. It was Valentine's, so I did everything, concepts about love. But the best part that I learned was that there's a community of artists and people that are ready to do the work. So I'm talking to filmmaker Pedro Ivan and lighting designer Marian Vélez. And I'm like, okay, I didn't get the grant. I don't know when I'm going to do this show. And they're like, do it in an abandoned space, public spaces. Let's go there. And I found this space in Rio Piedra, which is only some blocks away from the university. And we took over the space. And what's amazing is there was people living in this space. And they actually start helping me in creating this beautiful performance space. And we also found homes for them after that. And we connected with the neighbors, the community leaders, people, all my friends. People were coming in without me having really a sustainable budget for everyone. People just believed in me and believed in my work. And we did this piece. We did a full amphitheater with pallets, with milk crates. We actually stole the electricity from the building next door, from the electric post. But we did the piece, thanks to the support, and we worked with a local bookstore. We had the velorio, the wake there, with our little galletitas and cheese and hot chocolate. And it's actually a piece about the wake of my own self. My young, naive, straight, thinking was straight, moment into this new queer person that is just really kind of understanding what it is to love herself and to love her community and to love Puerto Rico. So sustento is community, right? Diana said it. So es la comunidad. It's very important. It is our community that create our brave spaces, that create that love, that motherly love that doesn't only have to be by your blood mother. There's other people that become those. And then the piece, Proyecto La Mujer Maravilla, which is what I'm wearing now from one of the explorations. I wanted to become a mother. I was 37, an artist, and living in Puerto Rico, which there was not a lot of work, really, or sustainability. So I decided, okay, what's the best way that I can try to get pregnant? Oh, I applied for a grant. So that's what I did. I applied for a grant asking for money for 3 phases. First was the first phase to making sure I could get pregnant. I'm 37. Everybody says eggs die at that point, so I'm trying to check it out. I then go and I'm gonna then find how to get pregnant. As a queer woman, there's lots of options, right? And then I'm gonna try to get pregnant. And all of this being funded by a foundation. I don't have children. I didn't get the grant. But I have this project in my head of trying to understand what is La Mujer Maravilla. And I do believe La Mujer Maravilla is our mothers. And again, our mothers, I use it in a wide way of concept. It's not just, again, our blood mothers or cis women. There's different ways of motherly, of being caretaker and maternal with us and other people. But other questions start happening. What it is to be a Wonder Woman. What it is to be La Mujer Maravilla. What are those expectations that have been asking of us, women identify, like our beauty, our gender, like how do we express ourselves, what it is to be woman, what is our superpower. So I started exploring this project, which is now a live project that I started in 2013. And since then, I've been doing different explorations, and I'm going to show you here a few of them. This is La Mujer Maravilla Exploración 7 and set 7.2. I've been doing at this point already 7 explorations. But the important thing about this exploration is that I go to Chile. Chile has a long history of resistance and a long history of performance, which they call arte acción. And I get there, and my second day in Chile, I go to Valparaíso, and I go to this residency, and they tell us, let's go get together, we're gonna go and perform at this abandoned place. And I was like, say what? I haven't done research. I haven't sat down and write on my journal and read a lot of books about this. Like, I don't know if I can do this performance. I didn't do the performance. All the performance artists from different part of the world are doing it. And I'm seeing poetry. I'm seeing these bodies just exploring shape and form and telling all these stories without even saying anything. The performance ends, and I talked to them, and I was like, what is it that you just did? How did you just do that? And they're like, Awilda, the stories are already in your body. You already have the history there. You already have that knowledge. So then this happened. I had collected around 72 bras from people around the world, friends and families, and just random people from Facebook. And I didn't have a piece until I got to Chile, and I had that experience, and I created this piece, which I make a skirt out of these bras. And I've done it in public spaces, which I have them people participating. There's always a concept of sustento, which how I did at the beginning. Taking a break, does anybody want some sustento? Okay, great, let's do that, some sustento then. Well, I keep on talking. But you do have to tell me what sustento is for you.
I was gonna say right now I don't know.
That is definitely valid. Would you hold my mic? Thank you for going on your knees. That's quite dramatic for this moment. Thank you. Ay, eso. Amen. Oh, amen, right? Okay, who else? I have somebody over here. What is sustento for you?
Mi madre.
Ay, me aguantas el... Gracias. La cabeza para atrás. Thank you. I still have it around just in case. So La Mujer Maravilla does a sustento each time that the piece starts. The reason why this is happening is because this is a way of having a conversation, you and I, humanizing each other, demystifying the artist, and really having a conversation about what sustains us. When do you get that question ever asked, which is really what gets you to wake up every morning and do what it is that you do, even if it shifts day by day. This is another exploration. This one was part of the Performance Arts Festival in Miami, where I asked people to construct myself. And this is the first time I explored this type of action, which I'm gonna show you later on. And this is what happened. I bring out an American flag, a gold pair of scissors, a red lipstick, an eyeliner, and a black wig, which is a black wig that I've been using since the beginning of my career. So it's kind of messed up at this point, but I don't care. It's gonna still be part of it. Because there's something about the practice that I'm doing right now, which Chile taught me, that was when I was at the Formes and different other festival, is that what you have is enough. There's so much value already within you. And coming from a colonized country where they're totally constantly telling us, you know, if you only had something else, if you only were somewhere else. So for me, it's a decolonizing practice to think about what I have as valuable as it is, and I can make the work I want to do. This is La Mujer Maravilla Rio Piedras, which is a commission piece by De La Casa Ruth. And I work with other women-identified artists, and I actually got paid for this. It was $500. Again, that seems a magic number. And I actually divide the fundings amongst ourselves, and we use items that we already had. And then some Kool-Aid that is quite cheap to buy. And then I have La Mujer Maravilla 4,645. That is the number that the University of Harvard made a study, and that's the number of death after Hurricane Irma and Maria due to the negligence of the federal government and the government of Puerto Rico. This is happening. I'm showing work in the gallery. They asked me to perform. I was like, yes, I'm gonna do this piece. It's a durational piece. It was the only time it was performance, probably is the only time I will do this exploration. And it was an honor for all the death and the continuous count that keeps on growing due to that negligence. And yes, I don't think what else to add to that, but I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. And then we are in Brooklyn Museum, and this is La Mujer Maravilla Cuerpa. This piece has been done multiple times. It started at India, and then it moved on to become Cuerpa. I do what I just did with all of you. I ask people for if they want some sustento. Then I take off my clothes. And I asked for somebody in the audience that I've gave sustento to hold on to my clothes and my other items. But at this time, I just have that dress, so you're good. And then I asked the audience to count with me the age that I am at the moment that I do the performance. Right now, I'm 41. We're not going to count to 41 because of time, but we are going to say 41 together. And then after that, I'm going to demonstrate the action. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto. Me ha dado un par de tetas, una chocha y un ano, una cuerpa libre, atrapada en llanto. And then I start recreating poses that we see in media of women, not only women of color, women of all different ethnicities as we're being sexualized, exoticized without even wanting to. Images in porn, images when we're being raped. So that's La Mujer Maravilla. So sustento is funds. I'm not gonna lie. It's something that we need. I'm gonna take opportunity right now and say thank you to Wexner, thank you to Ohio State, thank you to all the sponsors that made this visit possible. Thanks to them, I'm able to sustain myself right now. And by sustainability, I'm thinking that I can have a roof over my head, I can take care of my body, of my health, I can take care of my family, I can take care of those that I love, and artists in Puerto Rico that I love to support. And what I do in Puerto Rico as a way of sustaining myself, I actually rent a room in my apartment because using what I have a beautiful place in Puerto Rico, which is known for a lot of people as paradise. It is quite beautiful. It's also quite complex to live there. And I started with Airbnb. Then for political reasons, I removed myself from Airbnb. And now I only work through word of mouth or people that I know, friends and family. People come as artists to do residencies. People come and take breaks from their everyday life and go to the beach too. But they are still in some ways contributing or getting to know what it means to live in Puerto Rico. It is an active resident. You're not just there to enjoy the view. You become part of conversations with people that come and visit the house or things that you want to do. We have farmers, we have different people coming in and contributing to the country. So sustento is home. It's very important, the space that I just showed, which I called really dearly La Rosario, because it's located in La Calle Rosario in Santurce. And that's where I sleep, I take care of myself, my archive is held They're still not in museums or fancy places like that, so it's just my closet and my walls. But I also take care of other people. I have share meals constantly. I have a nice garden. And it's really where I go and I sleep and I can rest and I can love myself and heal from the world that we live in. But really, Sustento is a bottle filled with water. It's actually water from the performance space. There's a beautiful fountain with filtered water. But it's a great conversation starter. I recommend it. Find a bottle, put some Sustento on it, and go around talking about it. But now I'm gonna ask you all to be part of my other life project, which is Bailar Todos los Días. Since 2015, I've been dancing every day. I use, again, what I have, which is a cell phone that I have to get no matter what, because I want to communicate with all those amazing gigs or my family and friends. And I use social media like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. So I'm gonna dance right now, and whoever wants to dance with me, I invite you. You can dance from your chairs. It's okay, just get up and dance. I'm gonna record it, and that will be it for now. Anybody wants to dance? Yeah, let's get up and dance. Let's move our body. It's important to activate it. Okay, camera's rolling. Yeah, thank you. Now really, Sustento, stay there, don't sit down. Sustento is actually a verb, right? You stay there. I would say take advantage of this moment that you're free, you're dancing, look at each other. If you know each other, if you feel comfortable with consent, you can give each other a hug. You can say hello, nice to meet you. You can just connect by just looking at each other and smile. Amazing, thank you. And I will close this evening just sharing how I actually now dance versus dancing in the beginning of this presentation. I hope you enjoy it, and then hopefully we'll have conversations and questions after this. Thank you. And that's it. That's me in like 40-something minutes. Thank you, everyone. So I think we're doing questions if you still have a little bit of time. You can ask me anything about the work or about anything else. Try to be pretty honest and vulnerable and real with everybody. Let's do our best. Okay, microphone over to Teresa.
Gracias. I really appreciate it. Beautiful, beautiful work. I have a question about the thing you mentioned in your talk about the wig. So you said the black wig is kind of messed up now, but when you started to use it, you had shaved your head, right? So it was a way to get at different. So it was sort of about gender, like getting at different ways of presenting as feminine or woman. And so why do you think it's messed up now?
Honestly, because my friends tell me, why do you keep using that wig? It's so messed up. But actually, the original reason why I bought the wig was, one, I had a shaved head, and also I was trying to recreate a picture of my mother. That is part of the piece. I wanted to be a cheerleader, but my country didn't have it. And she had this really beautiful, long, kind of straight hair. So the only way I could get that done was with a wig, which was quite expensive. So I'm gonna be using it until it kind of like falls apart. I like the aesthetics of used stuff, but I also have an emotional attachment to objects too that I use for my work.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed your performances and slash talk, and so I love the hybrid. I had a question about your. You mentioned that you did work in Chile, and I'm from Chile, so I was really excited, and so I was wondering if you could just talk about how that came a little more about how that came about, and you also talked about how it was inspiring or at least influential for you in terms of the performance history that already existed in Chile, and that was a lot of times very much that grows out of the history of the dictatorship there. So anyways, I'd just like to hear a little more about your experience there.
Gracias. Chile es increíble. Mi corazón está con Chile, honestamente.
Gracias.
Me enamoré muchas veces también en Chile. Pues cuando, the way I get to Chile is because a friend of mine knew the curator for the Bienal de Formes, and she told him about my name, and then my name came up, and then that's how I get there. And the festival really just supported lodging and food, so I had to fundraise for everything else. But I started researching about Chile, and because of the history of Chile, I really wanted to go and see what's happening with my own eyes. And for me, really one of my favorite ways of traveling is going through these festivals, these opportunities of sharing work, because then we have these conversations from this place of creating these images. And when I went to Cohabitar, which is the residency that I mentioned, was in Valparaíso, and it was run by Chilean artists. And they really were young, 20-something artists that were young, but they really were very active politically. And they showed me and taught me even more, and then I got to go to El Museo de la Memoria. But I also had done all my research of, now I forgot the name, Escada, el colectivo de artistas.
I'm forgetting myself too, yeah.
But Cada, and I saw those videos of like they throwing the boletines in this middle of La Plaza La Moneda. So it's very active, and the way the Chileans are doing performance art is in public spaces, and it's quite radical. Quite like the festival started with this. I forgot their names. I'm sorry for that. Piñón, creo que es el nombre del colectivo Piñón, and they literally had a Bachelet picture and water balloons. And people were throwing in the plaza, en medio de la plaza. He was asking the audience to do that, and they got arrested. But the audience, or the witness, which is how I like to talk about people that see these performances, started defending the artists. And they started saying, no, this is their right. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, in Puerto Rico, not always that happens. And I was like, wow, this is a history of resistance and what art has to do with resisting the system. So it was quite inspiring, and I really want to go back and stay a longer time. But gracias, sí.
Thank you, gracias.
Hello. I just wanted to say thank you for like sharing yourself with us today. That was you inspired me a lot. But I wanted to ask, I do photography as well, and I'm constantly trying to find ways to feel more comfortable in my own skin as I do like nude photography and stuff. So I wanted to ask where you found that like comfortability to take those photos of yourself.
I always get that question quite a lot. And it's I wish I would say that there's this magic moment or this magic drink that I take and it just happens. I still feel uncomfortable sometimes. It's different when I'm performing versus when I'm in my house, right? In a different intimate space, or when I'm with my partner, or when I'm just me. And I'm looking at all like everything that is not supposed to be beautiful. And I have to deprogram myself constantly. So it's a constant work. It's never gonna end, I think. And especially as my body is aging, there's new things coming up from my flexibility, from my digestion, everything starts shifting. And it's something about surrounding yourself with other people that are comfortable also with their bodies and having these conversations, and also having a conversation with yourself and trying to understand where that programming is coming from, what is telling you that you're not supposed to do that, how much it's maybe stuff from family or even your own self. We censor ourselves way so much. We are the worst critics, right? And that's why sometimes we don't do the work, right? Because we're like, oh, this is gonna suck. Well, if you wait for anybody else, you have to believe in yourself and you just have to go and do it. But also surround yourself with people that are gonna make you feel safe. So if you were to do pictures of yourself and you want to do it in the intimacy of your own self, that's fine. But if you can find other people that can support you, and that is better. Community is much better. And community in the sense that it's there to take care of you. So if somebody there is not taking care of you, you have another 6 people of your posse saying, no, person, you're acting really weird. So really like make sure you surround yourself with that kind of community. In order to do that, it's going to be a process. It's always going to be transforming, but you're beautiful. We're beautiful. And everybody's beautiful. We are. It's hard to believe it sometimes, but we are, because there's a lot of media and a lot of images that we see day by day that's reminding you that you need to buy a cream for this, and you need to buy a pill for that, and you need to do I don't know how many sit-ups in order to have a flat belly, so then you can be gorgeous and put a bikini and go to Puerto Rico. No, we have all different shapes in Puerto Rico, and we all are in bikinis, and we're all having a good time. So just love yourself.
Hi, Awilda. Thank you for your talk. That was sustento itself. It's so fucking cold and lonely here.
Gracias.
So, thank you for that. So when you were telling us about your early piece about la tortillera, I was like dying, because in Venezuela we call it arepera, which I thought was so funny that we even have that other version of it. And you go like this to signify like, oh, lesbians having sex with each other.
Exactly. That's how we lesbians have sex. Yeah.
Anyways, my question was about that early piece and kind of how you relate to your very early work, and do you come back to it, and how do you kind of integrate it into your work now?
Yeah, well, to be honest with this artist talk, I go back to a lot of it, like even how I tell the story of my being born, and how that whole trajectory of my family is part of, I wanted to be a cheerleader, but my country didn't have it. That's the first time that script was actually developed. And I asked questions to my mother about how did we travel, like how old was I when I got out of Mexico, and all of this information. So now it's become part of the talk, and I'm gonna continue exploring. I do wanna combine all 3 pieces of the beginning pieces of I wanted to be a cheerleader, Mama Awilda, and El Velorio, and turn it into a one full evening performance, because I think it narrates a moment in my life, very particular, of coming on age. I don't know if I'm gonna be playing it. Maybe I'll just write it for some other, amazing queer performance artist I wanted to do it. But it's quite interesting to go back at it, and I still, and we're talking about Mama Awilda even, like I'm thinking about going back at it and keep exploring what those scripts meant at that time, because I'm a different person. I am not the same person when I was singing Tortillera. Now I don't consider myself a lesbian. I'm a queer, pansexual person that loves everyone. But I needed that time of becoming a lesbian. Not to say that it's something wrong about being a lesbian, but I've grown too. I don't want children, not right now. So that also changed. So everything is constantly changing. So I hope to come back to it. I'm waiting for budget to make that like full multimedia extravaganza performance. But yeah, I think it's good that we do that, to go back.
Thanks so much for the whole thing. I'm just thrilled that you're here and really grateful. I have, of course, a very nerdy question.
Yes.
Well, you're talking so much of you're doing so many things, but the figure of the mother was huge. And I think it is for many women, particularly as we work through our sexuality, but it is particularly, I think, for women of color in a strident way. And so I'm just wondering what your influences and the people you exchange ideas with on that. And of course, the nerdy part of it is that I'm hoping some of them are written so that I can read them because I'm a textual person. But I don't know if it's people you're reading or if you have ideas of readings you can share, or if it's other artists, and then the other part of it is if it seems very community, that you work in community spaces, or is it really just intense self-reflection? Like, is that part of your method too?
Well, my material mostly comes from my family and the people that surround me. So I am inspired by a lot of women and mothers around me, and that's really what informs my work. I later gone to the books. Sometimes I don't remember right now particularly, artists that deal with motherhood, but I know of other performers that use that as a method of what they want to say with their work, and we have conversations about it. But it is kind of this intense self-reflection constantly, and also seeing how other people interpret motherhood through their work. There's so many artists that do that, and from all different races and ethnicities that explore the term, also the motherhood, and also like La Virgen and Deidades, like deities. This figure of the woman, which we need more, and brujas, and different other explorations of the spiritual woman. And I think that's why it's important to do it, because those histories want to be erased constantly. We don't want to have spaces for them to revolt, or because they're going to start the revolution. They sustain the revolution a lot of the times, even though they don't get written on the books as part of the revolution. But it's really where my heart is. My mother is really my number one source of inspiration, and my aunts. I grew up with a strong group of women that raised me, and a grandmother that's amazing, a great grandmother, and other women artists around me that are just doing the motherly thing. And I can see them being mothers, and the struggle that is, but also the beauty that is, and how it inspires their work. So I wish I had more books to tell you about, but at this moment I can't really quote anyone, but I can definitely maybe connect, and we can continue to have this conversation. Also, if you have any sources, I would like to know them too. Microphone over. Sure. It's just because of the video. I probably can hear you from here, but.
I really loved the performance. It was wonderful. And I'm also Puerto Rican, born in New York. I've noticed, I haven't been back to the island for a little while, but for quite a while, actually. But I've noticed when I was there, and I met a long time ago, like a few artists in San Juan, and people doing dance and writing, and the way that they spoke about being an artist in Puerto Rico just sounded really difficult and really rich. Something like what you were saying, that there's the kind of conservatism of the island. There's the kind of light colonial thing. And so I just wondered if you could say more. But also they said that it was, like you said, a really beautiful community that felt very embattled, but that seemed to feed into what they did as well. So I would love to hear more about being an artist, a Puerto Rican artist, an experimental artist in Puerto Rico, and that dynamic between being kind of embattled and enriched?
It's a conversation that we have constantly, to be honest, with a lot of my fellow experimental artists and dancers. Even though every different art form and even other professional forms are struggling in Puerto Rico because of the same thing, the rich and the poor, and how difficult it can be, but also how beautiful it is to live there. We choose to live there for many reasons, being family or being able to go to the beach every day. There's different reasons why it drives us to, that sustains us to be there. But we are having that conversation. I've been there now since 2010, so I'm gonna be there for 9 years. I will be completely honest, in the beginning wasn't simple, it wasn't easy, because I was coming from living in the States almost 15 years, where it was a different kind of way of finding work too. With a degree in arts administration, which I thought, that was gonna give me the 9-to-5 job in Puerto Rico, but it's such a small community and there's not enough arts organization, versus if I had chosen to live in the States, maybe I would have found more opportunity. So I was always in that struggle of staying or leaving or staying and all of that. But now that I'm there and I'm very grateful and privileged in a way to be able to come here and go to different places with my work, which is what sustains it now, apart from renting my room in my apartment. But we have so many strategies to do the work. We perform pretty much for the love of performing. And we also bring our hats out at the end of the show and people give money. We have shared dinners, performative brunches. We work at nightclubs. We do all kinds of alternative economy. Even me, I've done like queer haircuts, which is I buzz whoever wants to come home, I buzz them somewhere and we'll have our haircut. I bake cakes. I've done all kinds of things to try to make it, and that's how everybody's doing. I also teach yoga. People teach different practices of the dance and yoga and different things. So we are all, I think there's a lot to learn about making art in Puerto Rico, apart from the struggle of making the art, because we're gonna do it. We're not leaving. And we also especially after the hurricane, which was a reality check that was quite harsh, because everything kind of collapsed and spaces that I used to teach weren't alive, were not working, they're still not open. But then there was also this input of all this diaspora organizing to bring funds, particularly for the arts. So we've been having a boom right now in regards to supporting artists. I'm part of the Puerto Rico Arts Initiative, which is one of the reasons why they're actually supporting artists in Puerto Rico, and these are performance experimental artists. And this is thanks to they're getting funded by Mellon Foundation and Northwestern University and Ramon Rivera Cervera, which Alana mentioned. He's really passionate about supporting the experimental dance work there. And it's 10 of us plus 10 mentors. So it's a total of 20 artists that are being supported for the next 2 years. So things are changing. Then after 2020, I don't know what's gonna happen for me or for anybody else, but this is why my project actually in the incubator is called Sustento. So I'm trying to research what it means to make work in Puerto Rico, the good and the bad, because really community, at the end, that's the best sustainability that we have. Because if it's not for food, it's for opportunities and jobs. Like, hey, I got a grant. Would you like to be my stage manager? Hey, I'll be your stage manager for the weekend. I need the job. Or would you sell the tickets on my next show? Or would you help me fundraise here? So we're always we are multidisciplinary artists in the wide term of that. we make the work, we produce the work, and we go attend the work. So we're busy. Are we good with time? Okay.
Everyone, please please come up afterwards if you'd like for more discussion. But could we once again thank Awilda so much for being here? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.